Hello, good afternoon. So social stories are, in my opinion, they're kind of like pecs, in a way that they're like a visual schedule of like steps. Like visuals, I have a few clients at the school now that have few visual schedules of like just like what their day looks like in class, and we follow that all day. It's just a way to kind of just help them know like what's coming next, because in particular one of my clients like gets really upset and starts having a meltdown right before lunch, and starts having a meltdown right before it's time to go home, just because they're always like reminded of when it's time to go home. So that it's kind of like a social story in a way that it tells that it like shows them, okay, this is what you have, this is what's next, this is what's next, and then you go home, and it's decreased, problematic behaviors by a great measure. And that's what social stories are used for, to decrease problematic behaviors. But I made a social story for one of my other kids at school, and it's a little bit different now because we're seeing a lot of regression in his behaviors, because they did recently start ABA therapy. So instead of being in school every day, all day, they're pulled from school, and they're only in school 3 days a week for 3 hours each day. So we're seeing a lot of regression in, their certain behavior, because, it's used to, I don't know what the day looks like. Just from my experience, ABA therapy, when somebody is just starting ABA therapy, typically you would just pair and just play. And I feel like that's what one of my students is going through. That way, like when they come back to school and I have them, because I'm their SPED teacher and I work with them in their inclusion classrooms, they just don't want to work. We've had a lot of problematic behaviors during transitions to work, disrupting the classroom by, taking a pencil, slam it down on the desk. They'll get out of their chair, they'll flop all over the floor, they'll go, like just start crying for no reason, just want to stem off some toys in the room. And just like, if you tell this particular student, like, if they're fixating on something on like a boba that happened like 2 days ago, I want a Band-Aid, and I say no, they start going to other teachers and asking, and they're like, no, because they just fixate so much. It's like, how do we get to that point? But the biggest thing is the transition back to class, and that's what my social story is about. And it's not in color because I don't have color ink in my printer. But I saw a lot of social stories that had color. So it just says, when I go to class from playtime, I will, number 1, respect my teacher. Number 2, use a low, quiet voice, because they've been, like just crying during transitions and flopping to the floor. Respect my teacher, because they need to respect what I say, because I am their teacher. I'm primarily working with them, So, and then the third one is follow directions. Follow directions. And in the picture, it just has like a teacher like on the board saying, number 1, take out workbook. Number 2, open to page 63. And number 3, answer questions 1 through 8. So like, since I'm in the inclusion classroom, so for the SPED teacher, I am the SPED teacher, but like in the classroom, she'll be like, complete 1 through 3. And so I'll be working with my autistic students on 1 through 3, like directly. And then number 4, start my work. So this is starting work without the stabbing the pencil into the desk, flopping out of the chair. Number 5, stop use a quiet voice. Use quiet hands. I'm sorry. Stop. Use quiet hands. So no that, none of that. And then last but not least, if you want something, just ask. And I'm trying to replace those behaviors with just manding incomplete sentences. Like, they don't even have to raise their hand, but in the classroom I would prefer them to raise their hand. But if it's just me and them and they want something, hey, Mr. Man, like the other day, my student, this one, same one, I did a social story on, was like pointing, like which way they wanted to go in the school, and I was like, what do you want? You can tell me. Oh, I want to go, like, and I had to prompt, I want to go that way. You know, so it's like just replace some behaviors like that. So, yeah. So that's like just the social story I did for them, and with a certain problem behaviors that I wanted to reduce. So, thanks for watching. Have a good night.